Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Hugh here. Hugh, you're the co-president, chief programming officer of one of the most incredible conferences, and it's not even just a conference; it's like a cultural phenomenon that's been, you've been involved in for over 30 years, and it's been so impactful to the kind of technology and arts and culture that we've seen really shape the world. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Th- Thank you, Ben, for the very nice introduction and great honor to be here. Excited to talk to you for a few minutes about what we've been fortunate enough to do in Austin.
Awesome. So, Hugh, early on, how did your passion for conferences, events, and just bringing culture together begin?
Um, I don't know that I particularly had a passion for events. When I was in teenager and coming back from college to Austin, was big live music fan. Um, and always thought, well, this would be cool to be part of this industry. I think that eventually morphed to just trying to bring people together or working on ways to bring people together. And I was lucky enough to kind of land at this job at South by Southwest more by accident than by design, or really completely by accident as opposed to design. And I started there at South by Southwest 1989. The event started in 1987, so I was the first employee, and it's been a heck of a ride seeing it grow from a relatively small and regional music event to something that is much, much bigger, and covers music, film, technology, food, fashion, health tech, med tech, transportation, space exploration, life extension, all kinds of things that the digital creatives are interested in. Um, my role here is simply to try to steer some really great ideas from a very passionate community, and put those ideas to good use with what we do at South by Southwest. And it has, again, been a heck of a journey and a lot of fun to be involved with this thing and see it grow and connect with some incredibly creative, incredibly wonderful, incredibly innovative people along the way.
So, Hugh, what drew you to this or this organization, this conference? Like, what specifically stood out that made you want to be employee number one?
Well, what stood out? It was a better job than I had at the time. So, that is may not be the sexiest answer, but it is the correct answer. But beyond that, a slightly higher level is, I like the idea of trying to bring people together. And that was important in 1987, 1989. It seems somehow it's even more important in 2024 in a world that is often divided for whatever reason. I think that one of the fascinating things about what we do at South by Southwest, so much of what we cover at the event at this point is technology in one form or another, whether it's a app or whether it's a some kind of music platform with the technology backbone. But that said, ultimately what we find out every year is the most powerful technology is the most basic technology, which is the power of face-to-face, person-to-person, human-to-human interactions. And as much as our technology has improved in so many ways, and as much as technology can do so many fabulous, fabulous, fabulous things for us, again, nothing yet compares with face-to-face, human-to-human interaction. I say yet because maybe at some point that Apple Vision Pro will become so sophisticated that it will be like you and me sitting next to each other when we're talking on Zoom. It's not there yet, and I don't think it's going to be there for a while.
So, when this conference kind of started out, it seemed to be like the focus has shifted, and now it's become much more tech focused. Like, how did that change over time? Like, what kind of led to that change?
Well, I think that yes, you are absolutely correct. It has changed a lot over time. And I think that is certainly one of the reasons that the event has survived for as long as it has, is that we have pivoted, changed, transitioned a lot. And have always kind of had this mindset that creative people have something in common, whether they're a creative musician or someone doing a tech startup or someone who's a chef or an athlete, that there's a degree of creativity there that they all share in common, and that putting these very creative people together in a city that has always cultivated and celebrated creativity at a time of the year when it's spring in Austin and it's not spring most other places. So you have this metaphor of rebirth. That has been very, very powerful. I'll also say that the creativity that we, the specific verticals of creativity that we focus on at South by Southwest so often parallel the kinds of creativity that we see in Austin, Texas. I mean, when the event started in 1987, it was entirely music focused because there was such a strong music scene in Austin. There is still a strong music scene in Austin in 2024, although maybe comparatively not as strong as it was in 1987. In 1994, we added film and what was then called multimedia, because multimedia sounded cutting edge. But why was that? You had these two young directors coming out of Austin, Texas, Robert Rodriguez and Rick Linklater, doing very, very cool stuff on the film side. And you had this kid who was selling computers out of his dorm room, Michael Dell, creating this incredible tech ecosystem. Roughly 10 years ago, we added more health and med tech stuff to the event. Why? Because the University of Texas built a medical school in Austin about that time. And most recently, we've added more transportation content to the event. Why on that? Well, Elon lives here half the time now and built a huge Tesla factory in Austin, which created a transportation industry where there never was before. So again, the stuff that we focus on at South by Southwest is very, very reflective, I think, in what Austin is. And people often ask me, what will South by Southwest look like in 2030? And I say, God, I really have no idea, but I think it'll look a lot like Austin, Texas. If Austin evolves into the number one world destination for quantum computing, we'll have a lot more quantum computing at South by Southwest. If we evolve into, to your world, the best place for sneaker culture in the world, then we'll have more sneakers at South by Southwest. But again, Austin has always been one of the huge inspirations for the kind of content, the kind of creativity, the kind of innovation that we focus on at the event.
So you mentioned that like the proximity of different industries, in the area is super important. But Hugh, as you're one of the people leading programming, what goes into determining great programming that keeps people engaged and also something that puts you guys at the cutting edge?
Definitely not me. I don't go into it. No. One of the things that we've done for the last roughly 15 plus years is we had a process for encouraging, collecting speaking proposals, content ideas from the community. That is called the panel picker. I like alliteration. It helps you remember things, but it's a process in the summer where anyone from the community, quote unquote, meaning anyone with an internet connection, can send in a speaking proposal. And I think that's one of the many things that A, reflects how important the community is to what we do. B, has brought in different kinds of industries to the event, has brought in different people from all over the US and all around the world to the event. And C is all of the above, kept us relevant, kept us, always looking at new topics, always kind of reflective of what the cutting edge people in this community are interested in, are focused on, are fascinated by.
So it's very the community really drives what the event looks like.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in the power of community. I think that often your community understands what you do better than you do. And I will say that a lot of our best ideas come from people in the community. That said, community management can be difficult. Sometimes the community wants to do something that you don't think is the right idea, and that can be challenging. But all that said, I think that the benefits of community engagement, of massive community engagement, far outweigh the challenges of doing so.
How would you say that your skill sets evolved from being, early on as an employee to now, over 30 years? Like, what have you kind of learned most that's helped you grow the conference?
I can fake my way through more conversations now than I used to be able to. I understand technology marginally better than I used to. I have better leadership skills now internally. I can go out and talk about the event a lot more eloquently than I could maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. I still, as with all of us, I still make lots of mistakes, and luckily the mistakes I've made have not ever proved fatal for the event. But just continue to try to learn, continue to try to get better, a little better every year. We've always taken a long-term approach to South by Southwest that, we need to fix several things for the coming year. We can probably only fix 2 of them. So let's put the next 2 things off to the following year. That long-term approach, that persistence approach, that patience approach, I think has been what works well for us. And certainly when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, to the extent that I understand entrepreneurism, I understand that patience, persistence is so much of what pays off long term. That's not necessarily a sexy thing to say, but it is absolutely what I've seen in my experience at South by Southwest, as well as with other entrepreneurs that have been massively successful. Persistence is what they're good at.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's one of the most important qualities, and it's across the board with so many entrepreneurs, especially ones that have come on here. So, you probably heard so many keynote speeches, Hugh, throughout the years. What would you say are like the most defining qualities of a successful keynote speech at South by?
Energy, engagement. Obviously, those are 2 incredibly important factors here. Relevancy, something that's relevant to to A, either current events, or B, to this creative community. And someone who's got a passion for what they do. So in many ways that describes any kind of engagement. Like, if you're going to do something, be all in, right? Be excited about what you do, show that passion to people, and certainly preparation also. I mean, the people who've done it best have been prepared. One of my favorite stories is as follows. I am a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I've seen Bruce, way too many times, 40 times in my life. I spent way too money traveling around the U.S. and around the world seeing him. We were lucky enough to get Bruce as a keynote speaker in I think 2012, and the staff knows that I'm a huge Bruce fan, and they're like, "Well, just leave and go watch the keynote." And I was like, I don't want to watch it. I'm afraid that he'll be, he won't live up to my expectations. It will be not as good as seeing a Bruce show in concert. And so I skipped the whole thing. Boy, was I completely wrong. His keynote was fabulous. It was him talking about the origins of some of his music. It was in many ways a precursor to the Broadway show that he did that was so successful. So again, I think that someone like a Bruce Springsteen, incredibly creative, and that creativity can span many different industries. And that's always the kind of people that we love to showcase at South by Southwest in Austin. The other thing I'll say here is that, what is also important from a keynote perspective or other speakers is having people who inspire. We all need inspiration. We all want inspiration. As entrepreneurs, we're discouraged half the time. And someone who can get up on stage and, give you inspiration, give you optimism, show you a path forward, show you what I did, and you can follow that. If I can do it, anybody can do it. that is gold.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think even more so in 2024 than maybe it was 20 years ago, when there are a lot more challenging things out there. And having people who can inspire the audience, that is amazing.
It's the best because it just makes it realistic, and you can follow in these people's footsteps. It's definitely an interesting story that you've shared. So you've got a lot of different culture that comes to this event. You've got music, you have tech, you have film. How do you put it all together and make everybody feel that they're accommodated?
We can probably do a much better job at this. Our general approach is that, like, we are a platform. The attendees will find each other. Sometimes that works. Sometimes that doesn't work. I think one of the challenges that we face when bringing together different communities like this is the challenge that we all face when we have different communities that we typically, we're human. We like to hang out with the people we like to hang out with, and we're often reticent to explore new communities. So certainly when in the lead up to the event, the month, 6 weeks of the event, we're encouraging people to break outside their comfort zone. Some people do that, some people don't. I think the people who do that aggressively at an event like South by Southwest, at an event like CES, at an event like TED, at Art Basel in Miami, those people who break out of their comfort zone, out of their community, and go explore new opportunities, are the ones who really make the most out of the event. That's when you can make new connections, when you say to your friends, I love you, but I'm going to go meet some new friends tonight. That is when you create new opportunities. And those are the real power users of an event like South by Southwest.
It's really up to you to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, you really have to push yourself. And I know that's difficult for people like myself who are introverts who would much rather hang around with people we know and not have to go out and meet new people. But hey, you're a athlete. Go meet the chefs. Go meet the advertising people. They're the ones who, again, will create some new opportunity that you had no idea was out there. But it's yours if you take that first, second, third step by embracing a new community, a new set of friends, a new set of contacts. And again, that applies so many places outside of South by Southwest as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So what changes would you say that you've made over the last 30 years that's been the most impactful to South by that were positive, that you saw you needed to do and you implemented?
Well, certainly this process of relying on the community more for content as opposed to relying on staff. I mean, 20 years ago, it used to be that I would, understand the internet was much less sophisticated then. I'd read a story in a magazine. I'd go, wow, that's pretty cool. Let me see if we can track these people down. How the system works now is that someone comes to us who's an expert in blank field and says, hey, I have these 3 contacts. You let me speak and I'll pull these contacts together. You do what you do well, which is organize an event. I'll do what I do well, which is be in touch with my community, and that will make for a very positive event. So certainly that has been one of the most impactful changes we've made. I think as well, just the courage, the will to embrace new verticals and not be set in, well, we started with music, we're always going to be music. No, let's again embrace new things. Maybe what we embrace doesn't work, but we'll try it. We've got this huge platform. We can try a bunch of different things. So let's experiment with that. And we're an event that celebrates creativity in all its many forms. So we should be as creative as possible in putting this event together, as opposed to stick with any kind of formula that we had 5 years ago. I mean, come on, let's push the envelope just as our community pushes the envelope, right?
So just the last question that I have, you've done a lot over 30 something years, with this event. What do you aspire to do now? What are some things that you haven't done yet that you want to accomplish?
The real life answer there, Ben, is to pull off a South by Southwest where we get everything right, as opposed to like, we got these 4 things right, but we missed on these other 2 things. And if we ever did that as a team, and it's not me, it's a team that's doing all this work, that would be a mic drop, and I would leave South by Southwest and go off and write my novel. But that hasn't happened yet, and I'm not sure if it ever happens. It's always, it's this goal that you're going to put on a relatively perfect event. It's always an aspirational goal and never quite get there. So who knows?
Well, it does sound like a good goal. I'm excited to see when you do get there. And Hugh, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thanks for coming on.
Ben, thanks for having me. It's been a fun conversation, and keep doing what you're doing in terms of showcasing people who are doing pretty neat stuff, myself excluded.